Unmute. Good evening, everybody. Matt Geary for the Geek Pride cast on this Sunday evening. With me, we have another guest, but as always, we have Peter Ray Allison.
Good evening. How are you all?
We have Mark Canty.
Hello there.
We have Jonjo Cosgrove in the flesh.
Hello, everybody.
And our guest tonight is DJ Leroy.
Hey, what's going on, gang? You alright?
Yeah, man, not bad. How are you, man?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Just bunkering down at the moment.
So, with regards to who you are, what you do, what's your thing, tell us about yourself, man. Who is DJ Leroy?
So, well, DJ Leroy is dead. That was who I used to be, actually. But I am now Level Up Leroy.
Right, sorry.
That's okay. Everyone makes that same mistake. So I've been playing at Comic Cons and conventions and sci-fi conventions for the last, well, I guess 4 years, but actually playing, maybe we'll say 3 years, because I don't think we can count 2020 right now. And it all started as one of the sci-fi weekenders where I met Pete. And I had this, it's a weird one. I had this, I've been DJing for 18 years or so in nightclubs and bars. Been an avid comic collector since 1989 when Batman was released. I had the bat symbol shaved in the back of my head, did all of that.
Really?
And I was always thinking about how can I put my two loves together. And a few years ago, I got a thing called Bell's palsy, paralyzed half of my face for about 3 or 4 months. Oh. And I kind of thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for broke, because I've always had this idea, and people were like, oh, there are enough nerds out there who would want to listen to nerd music. What even is that? And I was like, no, I've got this idea. I think it might work. And we did it as Sci-Fi Weekender, and the rest is history. It's sort of taken me all over the globe, which I've been so thankful for.
What's the sort of music that you would play then? What is nerd music?
Well, nerd. So I am a child of the 80s. So I get bored when I'm stuck in one genre, and so my kind of always the way I've played my set is been crowd reactive, and people want to have a great and good time. So there's a lot of like 8-bit DJs out there, or people that play nerdcore and certain genres, and I kind of, rather than just playing one genre all night, I kind of go across the whole board and try and throw everything in and keep it an upbeat party. And then I also add a video element into what I do. And so, with Guardians of the Galaxy, Hooked on a Feeling, things like that, which has now become the nerd anthem, it would appear. And I'd say I take things like that and remix them, amp them up a bit, and play those as well. So it's all the feel-good geek stuff that we all know and love, with little twists here and there.
And what sort of conventions where were you playing before the car crash that was 2020 hit them?
Yeah, right. So it all started at Sci-Fi Weekender over in Wales. I had this super weird idea, and obviously I phoned up a guy called Matt from Area 51, and he remembered me from a dance event that we'd done over in Skegness for the Club 18s to 30s, which... Oh, shudder.
Wow.
You see some things like that, let me tell you. And Matt was like, oh, Leroy, I remember you. And I sort of said, I've got this idea, and drove over all the way. Literally, I live in Norfolk, so I drove all the way from one end of the country to the other. And did that. So Sci-Fi Weekender was the first one. I then started just picking up conventions through word of mouth, and obviously me pestering people as well. So there's been For the Love of Sci-Fi up in Manchester, Liverpool Comic Con, Warped Con that was in Doncaster last year, MCM in London, and then many others as well. Norcon, where I live in Norwich. So I was sort of going around all of those, and then a couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough, I sort of reached out and was looking for another DJ like me, a geek sort of party DJ, I suppose. And I got in touch with a guy called DJ Elliot. And he's one of the DJs in Disney World. And he also does stuff for Lucasfilm. And he has the contracts for New York Comic Con and such like. So we met up at Warwick Davis's charity event for little people. We both helped out and did this disco dance thing and sorted all of that out for him. And then we had a chat, and we were very, very similar stories to tell. And he was like, "Hey man, like if you could do one Comic Con, what would you want to do?" And it was New York Comic Con for me, because that's the birthplace of the modern comic book, the superhero comic book. New York, it was the mecca. I know most people would say San Diego, but it was always about New York Comic Con for me. And he was like, "Okay, well, that's in a couple of months. Let's do it in October." And so I got to go out there. So New York Comic Con, worked with him really well. He really enjoyed what I did. So he brought me out to Star Wars Celebration in Chicago last year. I've then moved on, and South Africa Comic Con reached out, and we went over there, and Cyprus Comic Con as well. And
Holy shit!
yeah.
So when you say world, you have been
awesome.
all over the world.
Like, yeah, man, it's literally like taken me all over the world. Like, and this, as corny as it may seem, and you know, it's more of a Kevin Smith thing, but he's always like reading his books and his podcasts and all that stuff, but he's always very much like, "Yeah, man, go create art. If you can create art and you're passionate about it and it's your thing and it doesn't hurt anyone, just give it a go, do it, because you never know where it's going to take you." And I literally, once I got to that point, I was like, "I'm going to do this," you know, and it has. It's taken me, and I've met some like awesome people.
So name me some of the people you've met. What about famous people and stuff? Have you met any sort of famous people?
Well, yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Really? Where did you meet Ryan Reynolds?
At the back of New York Comics. So that's the thing. So I'm there as an artist working, and when Ryan Reynolds comes up backstage at New York Comic Con, he's like, "Hey guys, how's it going? You all right?" And you're like, Ryan Reynolds. I mean, like literally. I don't know what happened, but like literally all the women were like, "Oh wow, it's Ryan Reynolds," and all the blokes were like, "Oh wow, it's Ryan Reynolds."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Hey, Ryan Reynolds," you know. But you can't take photos or anything. Can't be like, "Hey, can I get a selfie?" Because there's a level of professionalism, and you're working backstage with these guys. And it was the same for, I saw Terry Hatcher and Dean Cain when they did a New Adventures of Superman talk at New York as well. And Terry Hatcher was my all-time crush. That Lois Lane, I mean, I was at high school then, so all kinds of feelings were coming through.
Yeah, man.
And she was there, and I couldn't get a picture with her or anything. It was crazy. But I met so many different people. It's been crazy. Like I've had Flash Gordon, Sam Jones himself, dancing to my Flash / Run DMC remix. Literally played it, and he stood there and put his hands in the air and was like nodding his head, and everyone was like, "Yeah, Flash." He's
an awesome guy. I interviewed him a few years back, and he was because he does sort of like it's not mercenary work, it's security work. He does security work. So basically, you know, security details, so guys with guns and stuff. And he was in Mexico when he phoned me, basically, like I've got his phone number, and it's like, you know, Flash Gordon pops up when I was saying, I was like, "Oh shit, nice. Flash Gordon's phoning me from like Mexico or something," and it was just really, awesome guy, so really nice.
Have you assigned a ringtone to him? Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, holy shit, Flash Gordon's phoning me from Mexico.
You're out and about, and you're like, "Oh, sorry, Flash Gordon's calling me."
Yeah. The thing is, I was in my car at the time, and it popped up, and I was like, "Holy shit, Flash Gordon's phoning me." And I'm like, he's early, and I'm not. I was like freaking out, so I was like, you know, I had to call him back, and it was just, yeah.
He's a really nice guy, actually, Sam Jones. He's a real man's man, and even when he was at the Sci-Fi weekend, the one up in Sheffield, you were there, Pete, weren't you?
Yeah.
And he was doing signings and stuff, and he was up on stage and that. But when he was sat down in the corner doing his signings, while he was doing his signings, he had like Major League Basketball, basketball, baseball, and American football, and he was just watching sports the whole time while he was also signing. He was a proper geezer. But when I say that I've met some excellent people, I actually don't mean the famous people. It's all of the, quote unquote, us normals, and geeks, and some super like-minded people that I just never knew were out there. Because I wasn't overly active online as such as other than just being a DJ, a normal DJ at the time. So I was never really into going into all the groups and chatting and doing stuff like that. So I was always I sort of had my own friends, but did my own geeky thing, as it were. But going in and visiting all these cons, and just my Facebook seemed to explode. And I've just added so many cool people from all over the world, and like people messaging and chatting and supporting each other and stuff. It's been phenomenal, actually.
Sounds like you're living the dream, man. Or you were living the dream until this year.
You
were living the dream until this year happened. On that subject, how has 2020 been treating you then? How does that all affect you? Obviously, any other artist, it's going to be quite hard, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely feel like older on, just before we got hit by the Death Star. It's been tough. I've been quite lucky in the fact that I have my own, let's say, my DJ equipment and everything like that. And for the people that are watching the videos, there's the green screen. So I've been going onto Twitch and been very active on there. Playing sets sort of every other week, really, or dabbling with some K-pop and stuff like that every now and again, which I love, and just being able to reach out to the community. So there's been people that are like, "This has really picked me up. Sorry, I was having a bad day, and got to sort of watch some videos and listen to some geek music, and it sort of really cheered me up, which is great. And it's also been really good for me, because I tend to find that I'm like, I'm starting to feel a bit low now, and I miss people, and so I can jump on my decks and literally sort of reach out to my fellow nerds at the same time. Talking to a webcam is nice, but I do miss real people.
Yeah, I'm a big heavy metal fan, and
Nice.
Rob Flynn from Machine Head, he does like sort of weekly sort of jam sessions where he just sits there and plays his guitar and talks to people on his thing, and that's really cool. I quite enjoy watching stuff like that. So yeah, I can see why it probably helps people, to be honest.
There's some real comfort in it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Just seeing people do what they do, and what I like about Twitch as a platform is that, the person that you're watching, you can interact with them. That's what it's really designed for. I know it's obviously the gaming platform initially, but musicians have really jumped on and latched onto it, especially with Facebook booting everyone off at a time of need, and a lot of musicians have really latched onto Twitch, and it's been a great way to reach out and keep in contact with your audience.
Yeah.
In one go.
Yeah. Do you said afterwards you're going to be playing Star Wars Squadrons and stuff? Do you do any live gaming?
I set my Twitch up, and I was like, well, I better do some gaming, right? Because it's Twitch. So, and I'm not the best gamer in the world. I really wish I was, and I do try my hardest, but I'm just not the best gamer. And so every time I went on, I was like, right, we're going to do this game, and I just dead.
Yeah.
Right, do this level again, dead, and then you get people jump in and go, "You're terrible, man." You're like, "Yeah, I know." Who are you? And it'll be some like 8-year-old as well that's just found the stream by
I
accident.
find that though, as you get older, your reaction's slow.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, big time. My father, he used to play Battlefield 2, so Battlefield 2 back in the day, and he started Actually, I think it was like Black Hawk Down, I think was the original one that they used to play. But he basically had this clan, and me and my brother, when we were like, I don't know, we would have been 14, 15, something like that. Maybe, a long time ago. And he said, look, I've got this clan, they're called OAP, so the overage players, and, that's our clan. You can join if you want. And it was funny because, he brought us in, he got us into the game. And like I'm not brilliant at first person shooters, to be honest, but my brother's really good at them, and he was like kicking my dad's ass. I was not impressed. Like this, his son had come in and started beating him, and he wouldn't let us call him Dad on the stream. We had to call him OAP Target or Target. Oh, my name's Target, man, and it's just like, all right, Target Dad, and yeah. Yeah, but yeah,
I have some good memories of older games like Delta Force.
That was it. Delta Force. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rainbow Six, the original Rainbow Six.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was back when I really got quite lucky. I made some good friends out of that, and out of Delta Force, one of my friends actually got a wife. Though they're now separated, but we don't go there because he's a nightmare. But yeah, so that was quite weird. That was a weekend I was supposed to go with him up to Coventry to meet this girl that had been playing on the servers we were playing on. I couldn't make it. I get a drunken phone call from him because he's just had a drinking race at an Irish bar in Coventry and beat the Irish owner doing alternating shots of whiskey and Guinness. And he had to be dragged home, literally carried home by the woman who ended up getting married, and she's like half the size of him, and she just like had to put him over her shoulder and carry him out to a taxi. And the next day I was like, so you like her? He goes, yeah. I said, who said romance is dead?
Yeah, we used to go and we used to have like get-togethers with my dad. Sort of, I'm still technically in the clan. We don't play very much, but they've got a Facebook page and stuff like that. But we used to have little nights out and stuff, and there were some absolute characters, man. And it just consisted of sort of like people my dad's age, maybe slightly younger, maybe getting drunk and talking bollocks on the TeamSpeak servers. And it was just weird. What was I going to say? So, with your DJing, is there anything you can do sort of gig wise this year, or is it literally all just cancelled? Is Christmas cancelled? Is the whole thing just so over?
Yeah, it's pretty much cancelled. I managed to get out in the summer. There was a local drive-in cinema experience. Where we had a large screen, which really lent itself to what I do, sort of throwing up all those visuals like The Mask and Super Mario and things like that. So in between having the films on, I would play some mini sets, talk to the people in the cars, and then one night we even had Dave Pearce sort of finish the night off. It was a really eclectic kind of thing. You'd have like cinema films in the day and then a couple of acts at night. And people could come and go depending on the acts they were booked in for. So it was kind of weird me standing there on a stage going, right, everyone flash your lights and honk your horns because here comes Dave Pearce, and everyone's going, and the lights are flashing away. And people were sort of dancing around. They all had squares to park in, and they were dancing in their squares with the car in the middle. In the middle of the summer, which was kind of cool. That was really good. It was a really good event. But I was super bummed out afterwards because I was like, that was it, wasn't it? That was my year. I'm doing an event on the 10th this weekend, I think, coming up, and at the University of East Anglia. We're going to be streaming to the students. So I've got to go in, and they're going to set me up on the stage and stream to the students, whether they're in their dorms or not and behaving themselves, I don't know. But yeah, I used to play at the university as well, which I love playing at because I could always link that in with my geek stuff because it's the Avengers base in.
Oh shit! It is, isn't it? It is.
Yeah. So I'm always like, I'm just going to be playing at the Avengers base, guys. And that's it. There is something lined up potentially for New Year's Eve, and that is an overseas one with the Area 51 guys. I'm hoping that comes in, but it will all be COVID dependent, whether it's safe enough for the event to go ahead.
And what is what's support like from the government? Is it non-existent, or are you getting anything to sort of help you out?
I think Boris does that every now and again. Sort of gives me a thumbs up.
That's like, yeah, you can do it.
Telly.
You can do it.
No, for me, unfortunately, not. So that's for me. All my wife says. My wife got a little bit. She's a self-employed ballet dance teacher, and then I'm a self-employed DJ. I do have a day job. Doesn't pay overly great, but it's keeping the wolves at bay at the moment.
Yeah,
so it's paying the bills and the food bills, and that's about it. But it'll all come back. It'll all come good, and it'll just be.
We were talking about this sort of. I'm not sure if it was last week or it was the week before, but we were saying like there was the guy. I've forgotten his name.
John Robertson.
No. So Wilding played Darth Vader, the new Darth Vader. What's his first name? Spencer Wilding. That's it. Spencer Wilding. Yeah. Oh God, that's really bad. He's gone back to sort of window washing and stuff because he can't at this moment in time. Obviously, can't get the work, and he's just sort of taking himself off to do that. And I feel really bad for a lot of people because I've got a lot of musician friends. And DJ friends and stuff like yourself who rely very much on gigs, the gig economy, and they're not getting anything. And I just see angrier and angrier Facebook feed messages coming up about it, and it's just like, I'm an office guy, so it's kind of unaffected me. So I'm part of me, sort of the selfish part of me, so going, I'm all good, but then the other part of me is like my friends are suffering, and it is very heartbreaking. So
yeah, we've definitely been left out in the lurch, unfortunately, as we're not considered viable, as we've been told this last week. It's tough, and as musicians and DJs and that we're all we're people. Clearly, we like to be out and entertaining and doing our thing. It's strange. I am the last person that ever wants to go to a nightclub. I hate nightclubbing. DJ, like clubbing is horrible to me. I just don't get it. But I love DJing in a nightclub. I just. It's weird that I would much rather be in there working, performing, and talking to people and stuff like that than being on the other side of it, so to speak. And us, the people that have got that sort of performance need in us, or that need to sort of reach out and touch people and hug people and be like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And it's really hard not to be able to do that on top of sort of being kicked in the balls, as it were, and not having any money coming in either. And there are friends of mine who literally solely were DJs. I must have foreseen something coming and thought to myself, you know what, maybe I should get a little job in the week that keeps me ticking over. And then I sort of cut back on my regular DJing because I was enjoying the convention. So potentially the Comic-Con saved me in that sense, because I was just DJing, and I thought, I'm really enjoying the Comic-Cons rather than the nightclubs and bars. I want to concentrate on that and slow those gigs down. So if I got like a little job in the week, then I could just do the gigs that I want to do, and cherry pick. And literally got to that point where I was handing in my notice at one of the clubs, and then 2 weeks later we got locked down. I was like, wow.
Grim, man. Absolutely grim.
C'est la vie.
Actually, what you wanted to ask was, how does nightclubbing, or I should say, how does Comic-Con DJing differ to nightclub DJing?
So I'm in a nightclub environment. I'm that DJ that plays everything. So if you have been, I'm the guy that's playing all the stuff that they're hearing on the radio all day, every day. and telling people to raise their hands up in the air, whoop, whoop, whoop.
No!
You know, and then they're constantly, people like, while I'm playing a Beyonce record, they'll come up and be like, have you got any Beyonce? And you're like, oh, really? Oh, okay. So I do that, and I do enjoy it. I love playing it. But when I do the Comic Cons, there's that, it was always in my mind of like, if I could just have what would be my perfect night? If I could play the most selfish DJ set in the world, how do I drop Danny Elfman's Batman theme and the Imperial March and all of that good stuff, and Cuban Pete from The Mask? How do I play that in a set without, you know, especially now the clubbers from this generation that we're seeing that are, you know, all very like, well, I'm living my best life, looking into my camera and taking pictures and Snapchats of myself, very vain. Whereas like being able to just let rip and play my own stuff, and almost being like a specialist DJ, where you see these house DJs or a garage DJ or R&B. So I've gone down this, it's a weird like specialist Comic Con DJ, and it just turns out that all the people that go to Comic Cons love the same shit I do. and people say to me, they go, how do you become a Comic Con DJ? And I'm like, you just got to love this stuff. You just got to be passionate about it. I love it. I love listening to scores, and yeah.
Detailing music to different Comic Cons. Like, for example, what you play at Sci-Fi Weekend, is that different to MCM? Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it can be. So MCM, as I mentioned earlier, I played some K-pop as well. So you find that the MCM, you get a lot of the sort of the anime kids. And
you play in the Fox, by the way? Did you DJ in the Fox?
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what? I think I recognise you then, because I've been in there a few times, and I was like, you look familiar.
So I played the last I did was last October, and that was my first set in the Fox. So I'd done stuff for MCM and on the Rogue bus as well, inside MCM and bits. And I was reaching out to the Fox, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm here, MCM. Do you want me to come and play? And they were very much like, no, we don't. You know, I think they had their DJ and they didn't want to pay for another DJ, as it were. But all I ever saw was people like ripping the Fox apart on the Comic Con nights, going, this DJ plays the Pokemon theme tune 5 times in a night.
He does.
He does. On a Feeling 5 times in a night. And I was like, wow. Well, because if you're not, again, this is exactly what I was talking about. If you're not passionate about it, and if you don't love this stuff, you kind of go, right, geek songs, Hooked on a Feeling, Pokemon, Ghostbusters, you know, and then at that point they're struggling.
He's been playing that Pokemon song for years, man. Since I first went to MCM, he was playing that shit.
Yeah. So I played it, and I got on the mic and I said, "Don't rip me apart, guys, because I know you hear this 5 or 6 times a night." But I did play a drum and bass remix that I made. And I had my videos with me as well. So it was, and once I did that set, I think there was people asking for me and messaging them constantly, and they finally came to me and were like, hey, would you like to DJ now? And I was like, yeah, sure. And that first time we did it, it just went off in a crazy way. It went off really big, and they were like, you're coming back in May? And I was like, absolutely. No, I'm not, because of COVID.
They didn't specify which May, that's it.
Sorry?
They
didn't specify May, that'll be May, hopefully May 2021.
Yeah. May. In the future somewhere.
May's recurring. Yeah.
Man, yeah, it sucks. But, you know, it's there to test us, this thing. And but the other thing I found about this sort of Comic Con DJing and stuff like that, really interesting, was that, and say I'd had this idea for so long. At the end of quite a few of my sets and my shows when I played, usually someone will come up to me at some point in the night. They'll be rather sheepish, and they'll come up and they'll be, oh, thank you. I don't go out. I don't, you know, a lot of us geeks, I'm, you know, quite lucky. I'm an outgoing geek, although I don't like to club. I'm social and I can talk to people and I can get out. There's so many of us nerds and geeks that can't do that. They have to stay at home. They can't, again, going to the pub or the club is like the worst thing in the world that they'd ever want to do. And actually coming to one of the convention parties afterwards and a sci-fi weekender and just being able to let their hair down, maybe have a drink for like the first time and party and dance with their friends in whatever costume they want to be. You know, we've had Warhammer Ultramarines dancing and stuff like that. And they could be in their, you know, that rare Harley Quinn cosplay that you see.
Yeah, I remember being on the dance floor at Sci-Fi Weekend, dressed as safe on Beeblebrox, dancing next to a steampunk, Robin and an astronaut, and to the other side there was like a space marine, and I just thought, yes,
And
yes,
yeah,
like Sci-Fi Weekend, and just like, yes, this is perfect.
They are
I'll
just
have another pint. Lovely.
conventions are just sort of special and stuff, and even the drinking at the end of them and stuff. Like, I like MCM in London because of the, you know, the Fox. It's not the best place in the world, but I enjoy just getting pissed and sort of, you know, having a laugh with a bunch of single-minded, you know, similarly minded people. And you know, it is just the randomness of it all. And I bring people with me who have zero interest in nerdy stuff, and they love it simply because it's just like completely out of their world. It just blows their minds, you know. Just the whole thing's just completely new. And that's
there's no other event like that, you know. It's they're crazy. The bigger, I did the New York Comic Con anime cosplay after party. That's a mouthful, isn't it? The anime after party, and literally everybody in that room, like everybody, I think it was the rule, you couldn't come in if you weren't in cosplay. Everyone was in cosplay that night, and that was, you know, when you've got One Punch Man in front of you, being like, yeah,
watch out with those fists, man.
Like that, like, yeah, I've made it.
Does your wife go with you when you go to these things in America, or?
No. So my wife is very ungeeky. They say opposites attract. And so we've got quite a young family as well. So I've got an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So it's really hard to actually take her along to any event, because if I'm going away, it's like New York Comic Con is a 4-day convention where you need to stick another day at the front and a day at the end of that for travel as well. So trying to find, you know, babysitters for your children for that long and stuff. So it's a funny thing. Like my social media will look fantastic, and I literally will be like, looks like I'm living my best life, you know, working at these conventions, and it's great, and wow, it's one big pie. But it's super hard work when you're going to those ones overseas like that, because it's kind of grueling. You get there, you land, you have to go and do everything, set up. You're pretty much DJing. So when I do the New York Comic Con stuff, I'm unlike the Sci-Fi Weekenders where I'm just DJing in the evening as an act. I actually DJ all day on the convention floor.
Ouch.
Which is kind of mad, because you're DJing and then you're like, oh, like I said, there goes Ryan Reynolds. Okay, cool. And stuff. But so you're DJing all day, and then you go to a party at night. So you know, you'd be DJing all day, go to the anime party. Then the next day I was DJing all day, and then I went and did a set at Brooklyn Brewery, and stuff like that. So it's just full on. So I always say to my wife, it's pure work. There's no time for shopping and stuff. Well, normally make my way to Midtown Comics in New York, but you know.
And you've not done San Diego, then? You've not done San Diego Comic Con?
No, I haven't. There's been talks for the last 2-3 years, really. San Diego. So MCM and read New York Comic Con, South Africa Comic Con are all run, and Star Wars Celebration are run by a company called Reed Pop.
Yep.
You may well all have heard of them.
Yeah.
And they run many other events. So they don't run San Diego. San Diego is a completely independent event. I have a good friend over there, Bernie, the Geek Gatsby, as it was, and he's quite big on the scene, and he sets up all these mad parties and stuff, and really, really wants to get me over there. We're just trying to work out budgets because San Diego Comic Con time, the price just goes through the roof.
Yeah.
They literally just rinse out everything from flights to hotels.
We got when we went over in 2016, flights cost us £666, number of the beast, £666 I think, return, and that was from Dublin to LA, and so we got a flight, like cheap Ryanair flight to Dublin, stuck around for a few hours, then flew over to the LA, and then we rented a car and drove to San Diego, and then got an Airbnb, and it was me, my brother's mate Gav, my bassist Egg, my mate Ali, and then the two Sneaky Zebra guys from Sneaky Zebra were there, and we all got an Airbnb together, and it was, because there were so many of us, it wasn't that expensive, and we weren't that far away either. We literally were, it was walkable, but it would have taken us about half an hour. But there's Ubers everywhere, so you literally could just get. It was on top of. All I can remember is it being sort of on a hill somewhere. But we literally was Uber outside your door within about a minute, and you were there within about 5 minutes. With Ubers and stuff. So money wise, getting there, it wasn't too bad from what I remember. It's just when you're there, that's when the money comes in, because there's so much shit you want to buy. And then there's so much going on, especially outside. Like, man, I don't think you would even need to go into the convention itself. You could do stuff outside, because every single bar, restaurant, and any place where you can go into is Comic-Con related and stuff. So they've all got themes, and they all have things that you can do and stuff, giving away freebies, DJs, karaoke, all kinds of crazy shit. And that's where all the money goes. And,
it is. It's something I would like to do and go over, and I think it's one of those ones I'd probably have to do for the love, as opposed to making any money from it ever. But it's on the bucket list for sure, because it's the biggest well-known Comic-Con in the world, even though I think New York is technically a larger Comic-Con.
Okay.
San Diego is the one that started it all, isn't it?
It's
for Comic-Cons. It used to be in a little dingy hotel room with a few long boxes and a few people rock up, and there might be a couple of artists and stuff, and it's now turned into this worldwide phenomenon, which is awesome.
You got in San Diego, you've got famous people who go and cosplay and you don't realize, and you'll sort of be walking past somebody, and then 5 minutes later you'll see them on TV or on the screen coming out of their cosplay, and you're like, holy shit, I just walked past that guy. Like Ezra Miller, who played the Flash, was walking past me and my brother, and we were taking photographs for the website for cosplay stuff, and I was like, should we get that Gandalf? And my brother's like, nah, he's a bit naff. I'm like, yeah, he's not great looking Gandalf. So we didn't bother, and then literally about 5 minutes later, he goes on stage with the not the Avengers, with the Justice League lot, and I was just like, that's the Gandalf that we didn't take a photograph of. And I was just like, wow. And then Justin Timberlake just walks past you, and you're just like, that's Justin Timberlake, and you're just like, just random stuff like that. But
the overseas, especially America, is just you're just walking along and you're like, oh, there's, like you say, Justin Timberlake. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I miss Kevin Smith by all of 5 minutes tops, I think, in the media room where I could have actually met him and stuff, which was, you know, I was like, no, but and that's probably one of the person in the world that I'd probably break the rules for and be like, oh, I'm such a big fan. I know
he wouldn't mind though. I get the impression from what he is that he's very
cool.
into sort of his fans and sort of being sort of there. Like I heard a story about him. He was at the airport and he was sitting there reading something, and there's these people kept on looking at him and stuff, and I can't remember exactly how the interaction came, but eventually the guy came over and kind of said, look, we would never do this sort of thing, you know, but you know, can I get a photograph? Yeah, man, no problem, you carry on. He's just sort of really, you know, he completely embraces his fans and stuff. He's, you know, he's not an asshole, basically.
No, it's his passion for what he does, his passion for the media, his passion for his fan base. He knows he's one of us. You know, he's that comic book reader, and he owns his own comic book shop now. But he is one of us, and he totally gets it and appreciates it.
Did you watch?
Which is really cool.
Did you watch his most recent Jay and Silent Bob reboot?
Yes, I bought tickets and we went to the cinema to see it in London and had an evening with Kevin Smith afterwards.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, Josh and
on the second row. So yeah, it was a stone throw away from the guy, but yeah, it was awesome, so good. And that film was brilliant and really from the heart, wasn't it?
I was going to say, did you go to the Prince Charles Cinema to go and see him?
No, I went to the other one because there was two cinemas, wasn't it? It was Prince Charles and the...
Yeah, I saw him at the Prince Charles one on the Thursday night.
Did you?
That was bloody amazing. He's one of these guys that he goes, oh, you know, open up to a Q&A. You got like 30 or 40 hands up, and it's like, he's only going to get about 3 people because he just fucking goes on.
He does.
Brilliant. He's brilliant because it gets to a point he goes, sorry, what did you ask? What was
your question?
You told me. It's like, it's just so fun. He's a guy who holds your attention all that time, and you think, oh wait, I did ask him a question. Yeah.
Yeah. I was mortified a couple of years ago when he had the heart attack, and I was thinking,
yeah,
I'm going to see a Kevin Smith thing again now, and I was just like, and I'd been to see him once prior when he came to the UK and did the O2. Got tickets to go see him, and I was quite a way back, and I was like, no, if he ever comes back, I'm going to make sure I get down the front. And then he came back, I think, in between there, like about 3 or 4 times, and every time it was like I was either away on holiday or I was away DJing, and like things just kept coming up, and I was like, I need to...
But a few years ago, he'd done LFCC as well, and
yes.
One of the things that, because he was there, I was like, yeah, that's my first person I've got to get an autograph from. That's the one person I've got to go and see. And someone, I think about 3 or 4 in front of me, had just you know, said hello to him. And as they're walking off, they're bad for him. I thought, what's happened there? What's going on? And the guy in front of me said, "Oh, didn't you hear him?" He said to Kevin Smith, "Oh, I like your films, but you are a bit of a bad seed."
Oh, right.
And apparently, you know, Kevin didn't react to that too well, and I thought, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Why would you queue up to spend your time? This is what I don't get. Why would people queue up?
Toxic fans is coming. But do you know, as soon as I got to the front, he literally just shook my hand, and he shook my hand again. And he goes, "Oh, what's your name?" I go, "Oh, it's Jonjo." He goes, "Oh man, that's a cool name." So you want me to sign your name obviously on here? I went, yes, Kevin, of course I do. He goes, "Hey man, I'm glad you're here. There's some utter fucking twats. Is that what you call it? Twats, they call it here." It's like, this guy is just amazing. It was just like, you know, just like that short interaction. But then he starts chatting as well, and I was kind of like, there's quite a few people behind me. I don't care though.
Everybody else is giving you daggers in the back of your head, going, "Fucking shut up."
I hate that feeling. But it was that point. It was like, hey, it was like, I'm having a good chat. I'm having good fun. And as I walked away, he then went, "Hey man, you stay cool." I was like,
Yeah.
Smith told me to stay cool.
Yeah.
No, he's a good guy, and hearing that story about that guy literally goes against everything that what he's always saying about putting out positivity and good vibes and stuff.
Yeah.
Why wait to queue up to tell someone that you don't like them? I just even I don't get that with the fandom. It really sort of gets to me.
There's fandom almost everything now where that is a case. I mean, one examples, look at Rick and Morty a few years ago. You had so many people that were not so much being negative towards the show, but it was their impact. Like the people that were ransacking McDonald's to get Szechuan sauce. Of everything,
that's nerd culture at its darkest, man. Darkest timeline, nerd culture shit right there, man. It's just like, it's everything that gives us a bad name, basically.
And the funny thing about the Szechuan sauce thing is that it's such for the Rick and Morty fans that watch it, get it, follow it, and actually understand, because we're nerds, so we get it on that next level stuff. Yeah, that Szechuan sauce thing is just such a throwaway line. It's not like, all right, we need to get to McDonald's to get Szechuan sauce. It's because he could go to any alternate universe and go and get that. So, it's just weird.
But saying that, talk about throwaway lines. Do you remember a show from about 12-30 years ago called Jericho, post-apocalyptic show?
No, I never watched it.
The first season of it obviously got cancelled by its end. People were asking for a second one, really clamoring for a second one. And in the last episode, there was, one of them says nuts. And then pretty much they literally just sent the studio bags and bags and bags of nuts, trying to say, yes, we need this show back. And that was their campaign. They just literally flooded the studio with nuts.
Wow.
And it went on for a month, and they went, yes, okay, we will give you another series. Yay, we won. And then obviously second series just didn't do well at all, and then it got cancelled again.
Jonjo, your audio seems to be going in and out. I'm not sure if you've got your microphone on auto adjust or automatic or something, because it's sort of kind of you're coming in and out. Just so you know.
Probably the excitement in his voice.
Yeah.
Talking about Kevin Smith, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because of the distance from the camera.
Maybe. What I was going to say. So, well, I suppose I can't really say what's going on next, because you don't know as it is and stuff. So
next up, I've got a lot of good few bookings that have rolled over, let's say, from 2020 to 2021. All of the conventions now are looking to obviously next year and trying to get going wherever they can and if they can. So they're all sort of now having to dip their toe in. So people know very well we're hoping that April we can all meet up in Great Yarmouth and do the sci-fi weekender. Definitely. And stuff like that. And March, there's something on in March, gaming event, the guys in Rapture. We're waiting on hearing about that. So it's from there. There's conventions booked in for next year. All of much of the same of what was supposed to be this year and last year. So hopefully back to New York, South Africa. I know Cyprus Comic Con wanted to go this year. All of the events and MCM and stuff. But it's just waiting. My concern for me personally is that I don't want the conventions to get to a point where money's got so tight, because a lot of the organisers are just guys like you and me. They're putting their hand in their pocket for these things, and I don't want them to get to the point where they're being pushed financially. And do they then think, do we need a DJ, or do we need a host DJ thing? So that could certainly impact next year. I hope it doesn't. And the plans so far are fairly stable. And then hopefully, I was supposed to be at Star Wars Celebration this year as well. Again, that was in Anaheim. But they've rebooked that now for 2 years away, so it'll be 2022, which will be 40 years for Return of the Jedi.
Oh wow!
So because this be when the next film's coming out as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so that'll be coming out after this. So yeah, that's why they've not opted for one for next year, because obviously this year was 40 years of Empire. 2 years away will be Jedi, and then they'll go, and here's all the new stuff, and show us all. So, I mean, I was goosebumps sitting in, so crazy. So I I'll throw my hands up. I enjoyed episode 9. I know some people didn't, and you know, there's a few things in there that I would change. But
what did you think of? I think the main one is...
Oh, here we go. Have I done it? Oh no.
Here we go.
Right. I'm like, obviously I'm an 80s kid as well, so you know, I remember my father sort of bringing me to see the Star Wars trilogy after, like, Return of the Jedi. It was like Return of the Jedi, but it showed all the other ones beforehand and stuff. But I loved episode 9. I loved I thought it made me slightly emotional simply because it was the end of effectively my childhood. It was like the whole thing had sort of come in full circle, and it made up for the travesty that was The Last Jedi, which I did not like in it. I watched it once and have refused to watch it since. Now my friend has told me that it's, you know, if you watch it back again, it's not as bad as you remember it, but I just could not rectify. I could not, I can't even think of the words, get into my head why you would have a Mary Poppins Leia and why Luke would be milking random things by the sea and stuff. So yeah, that sort of stuff, I just couldn't do it. The Leia thing really frustrated me a lot in the Last Jedi. So Pete, you need to go at 10.
Well, Leroy does, and also something just cropped up, so we do need to start wrapping it.
All right, that's no problem. We can.
I can stay out for another 5 minutes. We're talking Star Wars.
That's cool. Yeah, we're talking Star Wars now, so no problems.
Talk business now.
Yes. So, what did you think of The Last Jedi? What was your views on The Last Jedi?
So, right, this is I'm happy to see my stuff on a big screen that I love. So I come out of most things feeling really positive. Right, I think Pete's off. We'll see you later.
See you later, Pete.
Sorry, guys.
Thanks for inviting me, man. Yeah, it's awesome. So I'm happy to see my stuff. However, right, Last Jedi. Okay. Right at the start, Poe Dameron doing Yo Mama jokes with Hux. Like, you know, like saying, "Oh, it's okay, I'll go on hold." Like, there was like that kind of like brought it into there's no holding in Star Wars. Yeah. Right. There's none of that. So I think it was when they were trying to be comical, it lost its way a little bit. I just didn't.
Overly
just,
comical. Yeah.
It was quite jarring. Some of those moments, you're like, that's not Poe. You know, I know he's like that. He's not cocky. He's confident and, you know, a bit gun ho with things, but he's not. He's doing Yo Mama jokes with Hux was just weird. Luke Skywalker calling a lightsaber a laser sword was put a shudder down my spine as well, because I think Anakin was referred to them as when he was a kid, referred to it as a laser sword once. I think that had happened previously, so it is kind of in the continuity, but Jedi Master would not refer to a lightsaber as a laser sword.
I thought he called it a laser sword because that was his way of trying to distance himself from the Jedi.
Oh, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, I just don't.
I do my Last Jedi, but as I do, Matt does his story about why Rise of Skywalker's better, brings in the whole thing with his dad, and then that's it. I can't say anything else because that's it.
I'm not trying to trap you. I'm just saying. I'm just. It's not. It's just.
Unfortunately, his mic's cutting out as well.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Well, it's just, you know, it's not a bad film. I didn't hate it, and we've talked about this, you know, many times before in these podcasts. But it's just the fact that there was just certain things. Luke is not who Luke should be, and it's just like, you know, I appreciate that, you know, a lot of shit's gone on, and maybe he's going to be slightly jaded, but you got to think about Yoda, you got to think about Obi-Wan, you got to think about some of the other Jedis who've a lot of shit's happened, and they didn't throw all their toys out of the pram and then go, I'm not doing Jedis anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. And it was just like when he threw the fucking lightsaber over his shoulder and stuff. It's just like, what? And yeah,
I think we all wanted more from Luke.
Yeah.
Although he is still, you know, in A New Hope, he's a little bit whingy and whiny at times. So maybe that's grown with him.
Just thinking, going to get them power converters.
Yeah.
Oh, different story.
But yeah, I think go back, watch The Last Jedi again. After seeing episode 9, it kind of all makes sense. I mean, I met a really interesting guy called Dan at Granite City Comic Con in Aberdeen, and he works for Industrial Light Magic. And at that point, episode 9 hadn't come out, and he was working on it. And he also worked on Endgame, the bit where Captain Marvel flies through Thanos' ship.
Right.
He rendered all of that. So he'd seen these films like, you know, a year or so before, and knew what was going down. And he would not let anything go about the film at all. He was just like, well, what did you think about the last one? And he was like, it was an all right film. It was good enough. He gave me Star Wars. But there was a few things that threw me off. And he was like, once you watch episode 9, that will then bring that, you know,
number 8 into focus. Yeah,
into play and soften it up a little bit for people
that's it, wasn't it? It number 9 did, because the one thing that annoyed me was the fact that Leia suddenly was this sort of all-powerful Jedi. Instead of being force sensitive, she was suddenly this person who could use the force to float in space and not die in the vacuum of space and stuff. And
I 100% agree with you on that.
And I was just like, what the fuck? And obviously in number 9,
especially because I was crying because it was so beautiful. Like, she got blown up, she was out, she died at that point as well, and Carrie had gone in real life, and they'd done this, and she's out, and you've got this beautiful shot of her, and she wasn't icing up in the colder space, she was glassing up, and it was done so beautifully, and you're like, damn, man, you right got there. And then she went, just spoon.
And then she married Poppins. Then why? Me and my mate just looked at each other and went, "What the fuck just happened there?" It's like, and the thing is, right? I kind of wanted her to die in number 9, not number 9, in number 8, because I felt she's dead. I don't want them messing with it for number 9. But what they did in number 9 was actually quite good, and it was quite poignant. So I'm kind of glad in a way they did let her survive. And they did sort of justify that she was a Jedi like Luke, because she was trained by Luke, and it was good that they used her daughter as the body double.
Yes, that
in
was
that
awesome.
scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It probably did sort of make up for some of the sort of mistakes I think that were now, but they should never have been there in the first place. They had to put things in number 9 to justify there was fucking weird shit happening in number 8, and it's just like, ugh, I don't want to be. I'm very, very easy to please, but. Very easy to please, but Star Wars, like, it was just like, no, I can't accept that. And I just like, what the fuck happened? And I was just like, no way. No way.
I was totally the same. And it's a shame that movie got sort of the rap that it got. And then they, for some reason, decided, well, we won't go for a Christmas release with Solo. Let's drop it like 4 months after, when there was still like Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi toys on the shop shelves, and Solo's. I really enjoyed Solo.
Solo's really good.
It didn't give Solo the platform that it needed. I think people were maybe just still a bit too upset.
It got a bad rap. I thought Solo was a good fun, and spoiler alert if you haven't seen it and stuff. Having Darth Maul in there and stuff at the end. Awesome.
Setting up that Solo trilogy was we were going to get there, wasn't it?
But Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a Disney Plus series now, if anything.
Yeah.
And having like, Glover as a ultra pimp Lando.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so good. It's capes.
he just loves a cape. Yeah.
I was, I
that's
really enjoyed it.
I've got the shirt. So the shirt that he wears at the end, where he's playing Sabak, and Han goes in and finally gets the Millennium Falcon. He's Lando's wearing this like pimp shirt with lots of like spaceships on it and stuff. And Celebration last year, they had like the Hawaiian shirt version of it.
Awesome.
I just had to buy. So and when my wife hates it, she's like, "Oh, that thing it's bright orange. It's Lando. It's so cool. It's got spaceships all over it." And she's like, "Oh, don't wear that shirt." And I'm wearing the shirt. And every time we go out, people are like, "That's a cool shirt, man." Like, yeah, you know.
The question is, Lee, what are your views on Rogue One?
It is possibly the best Star Wars movie ever.
Yes! In your face, Jonjo. In your face. I agree. I completely agree.
But I need to put in a but on this. So the Star Wars that we grew up watching. So we all start with Star Wars as kids, and ultimately those films are kind of like fantasy films aimed at kids. We're just adults that won't let go of it, and we've brought it all the way through with us. And I do think that Rogue One is very different in the fact that they were like, this is kind of like a military / spy espionage
war film
that older people will watch and follow that storyline and follow that plot and follow that. It was a little more in depth than what we would generally get from, say, like A New Hope, which is a real basic kind of like farm boy goes to space, meets the trainer, blows up the Death Star. Whereas this had like so many little, twists and turns that we had to follow. So I think it was a Star Wars film made for us grown-ups, and that's why we all love it so much. And it's got a very different kind of feel to it. That said, though, my kids love it as well. They watch it and they like.
It's just darker, and I think something you don't get that in Star Wars films. One, there's no force in it. There's no bar at the end when fucking Darth Vader rocks up with his. That's one of the coolest scenes, Darth Vader scenes ever.
Spencer
That's awesome
as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Spencer Welding. Yeah,
it's like the most badass Darth Vader. It was the Darth Vader that we always wanted to see.
Yeah,
it's always a hard watch when like. So for me, obviously seeing the originals and that, and then as time goes by, we then got the prequels, and we're like, well, how are these guys doing these badass flips? Yeah. I just watched Alec Guinness and Darth Vader or Prowse, like just trying to.
yeah.
And at the time, Lucas told them they had to use two hands. He was saying that they're very lightsabers heavy, and so they've got these two hands on these things and going.
They're not doing the spins and stuff.
And the next thing, the prequel ones, you've got Anakin just go, just being like a ninja badass.
Or General Grievous.
Yeah.
Lightsaber at the same time.
I just, my massive, bar the little sort of, bits of nostalgic, having like Grand Moff Tarkin and having a young Princess Leia and stuff like that, and having the, Red Squadron, like Red Leader and things like that, sort of popping up. I love those little bits were really good. But my biggest thing was when the Rebel Alliance basically showed themselves to be a kind of grey area. It wasn't just these group of good guys doing good things. They were a group of good guys who did bad things, and it was just like, I liked the merc that was in there. I liked that they would do anything to sort of get what they needed, even if that meant they had to do bad stuff. And that was like
Cassian shooting that dude in the back.
Yeah.
The stormtroopers are coming. This guy's freaking out, and Cassian's like, well. This is going to draw attraction. I've got to put him out.
Yeah, exactly.
He sort of calms him down, doesn't he? He's like, don't worry.
That's just good. I like that the darker edge to it, because it makes it feel slightly more real, and I like that. There's more sort of a spectrum to the whole thing. Like I like some of the there's a YouTube. It's not the best. It's not the most well-made sort of YouTube sort of fan film, but it's basically about a guy who joins the Imperial Army because the rebels basically killed his family. Something happened, and he joins the Imperial Army and stuff, and it's about his trek throughout the Imperial Army, and there's a bit at the end with his girlfriend and stuff who turns out to be a rebel, and it's just that sort of thing. I like that, and I like the other end of the story and stuff. So why are they fighting and things like that? And I quite like. There's that fan theory that it's not canon anymore. But what was it? The Young Vac War, was that the one after? It's basically the ones were basically. Say it again.
Janbong.
Yeah, that's it. The whole thing about the Empire having the Death Star was to prevent them from invading the space. So the Death Stars might have been there to intimidate the Republic, but they were also there to prevent this mass invasion. They
were there to kill the world ships, weren't they?
Yeah.
All the super weapons were because he was building the huge military up and regimenting everything and gearing everything towards what he saw coming, but he just didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, and so I like that angle. I like, and that as something, that you don't see that, and I am a perpetual good guy, cannot be a bad guy in anything. But when it comes to Star Wars, I think there's grayer areas, I think there, and I'm always a bit like, yeah.
So I'll put a question to you, Matt. How would you have felt? Obviously, you're flying the flag for Rogue One. How would you have felt if the new trilogy that we'd got was darker, like Rogue One?
Yeah, man.
I've taken you away from the Skywalker saga, or really, let's call it the Palpatine saga, because that's what it is. But would that have made you go, "Oh, this is too dark for Star Wars"?
Are you talking about if it replaced the ones we've just seen, or new ones?
So had episode 7, 8, and 9 had that darker Rogue One feel to it?
No, because it needed to be what Star Wars was to carry on. If it had, it had to carry on its path. It's just that Rogue One was something completely different. Despite my dog's probably going to go mental because my girlfriend's just back. Hello. But if it had sort of.
Did you hear that, everyone? Geeks, we have girlfriends. Come on.
I'm sorry, my dog's going mental. And you can probably see him in the background getting very excited because my girlfriend's jumping up on the seat. There you go. But yeah, it's like it should have sort of stayed the way the way it was. The only thing about Rogue One was it was a separate entity. It was within the Star Wars universe, but it was something in it. Now, if they want to make the new films, the Old Republic films, or the I'm not sure what they're called, High Republic stuff. If they want to do that in that sort of form, obviously, because you'll have the Sith Empire and things like that. Totally up for that. Totally in for them being darker films. Now, they're not going to make them too dark because they're going to lose out money because kids aren't going to watch that shit. Yeah. So they need to be sort of child friendly. But
they took that lead definitely for the Mandalorian, didn't they?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, Mandalorian's awesome, so good. It's like old school, but it's darker, but it's got kind of a Western sort of thing to it. But it's just, it's really good. But Jon Favreau's really good, as a director in general. So
I got to see the panel for the Mandalorian, and I got the poster. When the panel when coming out, I was like, yay! And so I was pumped for episode 9 panel. That was my. When I was talking to the guys, I was like, look, I would really love a break for, and they were like, which 2 panels? And I was like, episode 9 and Mandalorian. Yeah. And everyone that week, it was a 5-day convention for Celebration, and that week, as soon as that Mandalorian panel dropped, and they were throwing that trailer out on the screens as well around the convention, that was it. Everyone was just like, Mandalorian. But then people were like, what about episode 9? They were like, Mandalorian. Literally just blew everything away. It was it's amazing. Goosebumps thinking about it.
Chris Mould says on Facebook, it's the same as Mandalorian. It's much darker. My daughter still loves it, or she loves Baby Yoda.
Yeah, my kids loved Rogue One as well. So maybe there is something to be said for that. It was just, I was kind of thinking, you know, the Skywalker saga is full of hope, isn't it? And and a little bit of, you know, I suppose trying to see a bit of joy through the new young warriors that are coming through and seeing their journey and their growth and stuff like that. So.
I would like to see them do kind of go to a similar direction as sort of maybe Discovery in Star Trek and make something slightly darker, more in that maybe more adults in certain ways, and see where it would go.
I would love that. I know we're getting a Cassian series on Disney Plus, but I 100% agree. I would love to see us follow a group of people on a ship. They're rebels, and they're going on these missions, and they go, you know, Star Trek-esque, you know, what's the mission this week? You know, the trouble with tribbles and all of that stuff. But, you know, I'd love to see like a team, you know, and they go in and they break. I mean, they could almost be like special ops teams as well. Every time there's a new thing going on and they've got to work out a way of breaking into something.
So like the A-team in the Star Wars world.
You did have a few Clone Wars episodes like that when you had obviously like you know, you had a few of them when they're all teaming up, and there was some good potential for that. And then obviously there's the talk out there that potentially we might get some of the clones that didn't go to Order 66. Maybe we might see them a little bit older, potentially doing their own mission.
Yeah, and they might be popping up in The Mandalorian as well. I'm saying so.
I think Farrah Morrison's going to have such a busy schedule, like playing like.
Oh man!
Going to move here, take the helmet off. All right, now go over here.
Put this suit on.
Well, yeah.
I realise Disney already has cloning technology.
Take your hair off for that one.
I'm just worried about the new films and stuff. I just like, you know, Mandalorian was really good. You know, Episode 9 was really good. I just want them to do something.
I don't think they're going to drop the ball with High Republic stuff. I think it's going to be.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. They've got. The thing is, I suppose originally there wasn't as much in-depth stuff about it. Now there's so much going on and so much canon that they can sort of source from that, you know, they could do a lot, but I just want them to do it properly and stuff. I don't want it to be overly CGI'd enough. I want it to be tangible, like The Mandalorian, something a bit more.
I think they've learned from that, haven't they? Yeah. They've learned from that Mandalorian, like this is what people want. They, you know, this is that, you know, physical effects as such as what it is. I don't know, but like people want to see people dressed up, and they want to see Muppets and puppets on Star Wars, and they want to see what's his name? Jabba's little guy. He was on the spit at the start of The Mandalorian. I can't remember what they're called now. We want to see little throwaways like that. So yeah, man. But guys, I need to make a move because I have got a date with Star Wars Squadrons this evening.
Well, we'll leave it there anyway, because we'll all be dropping like flies after that. But yes, so we'll drop it now and say our goodbyes. So thanks very much, Lee. Really appreciate your time and your insights. And I'm so glad that you like Rogue One. You know, we are kindred. We are kindred spirits now, my brother. You know,
let's go. I'd love to reconvene and talk more Star Wars.
Yes, 100%. You're more than welcome anytime, man. Anytime.
Brilliant.
So for me, I've been Matt Geary. With me tonight has been Jonjo Cosgrove.
See you later. Even though Last Jedi is still better.
Oh, Mark Canty.
Rogue One forever.
And Level Up Leroy.
Hi, thanks ever so much for having me on. By the way, anyone that's watching or listening, can I just plug my social media?
Sorry, I forgot to do
Go
that.
Check me out, Level Up Leroy, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, everything basically. I've been doing some weird educational videos on YouTube as well, all about comic book history and stuff like that.
Is it just Level Up Leroy? Is that what it is?
Just Level Up Leroy, yeah.
And it's one E, word. So it's Level Up and it's one E with Lee. Roy.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. So cheers, guys. Much appreciated. Thanks a lot and good night. Bye.
Take care. Bye.